Welcome, welcome. Good evening, everyone. Welcome back to your edition of Everything Real Estate. Echo. Okay, so my name is Maurice Muhammad. I'm the host of this episode of Everything Real Estate. I'm the broker. I'm a broker of Progressive Realty in Pennsylvania and a Torchlight Realty in New Jersey. Currently licensed in 4 states: New York, New Jersey, Michigan, and Pennsylvania. I'm currently also the director of a Torchlight Real Estate Academy, where we teach and train real estate professionals and to become a pre-licensed as well as post-license training. And we teach and seasoned agents as well as new agents how to become a real estate professional and train you so that you can, as well as continue education classes. And if you want to become a broker and take that next designation, which some call the highest designation and the best designation to have, which is a broker, we can provide that for you too. We currently are able to provide classes in all 50 states. But in the seat states, Pennsylvania and New Jersey, we can physically teach classes in those states. And those are virtual classes right now based on COVID. Who we are Everything Real Estate. And what do? We educate, we serve, and we look out for the underserved. We serve the underserved community with information and education. You know, it has been once said in this monumental book that the people without vision is the people that will perish. I'm paraphrasing, I'm not saying it verbatim. So, if you have vision, anything you can perceive and see, you can achieve it and accomplish it. So why do we do it? It is our community. It is up to us. Those that know better must do better. To whom much is given, much is required. So it is compelled upon us and those in the industry to impart information on those in our community and help them to be better and be better informed at real estate. Real estate is one of the key engines to wealth building. Real estate and insurance is the key industry to wealth building. If you know anybody that's wealthy, you better believe that there's some real estate in their portfolio. So at this time, we have a very, very special guest with us. Her name is Chandra Ware, and she is with us from Texas by way of South Central LA. Miss Chandra Ware was born and raised in the heart of South Central Los Angeles, is where she began her experience in real estate. She was unknowingly being groomed to become a real estate investor at an early age. That story sounds very familiar. By assisting her mother in managing a triplex that her mother owned. And during the summer, she accompanied her aunt in Dallas, Texas, to collect rents from tenants in several apartment complexes that her aunt owned. In 1985, Chandra began her career with the California Department of Corrections, where she began to dabble in real estate. But this time as an owner, where she owned 4 homes. She can, and that's, if you got any questions about ownership, definitely you can ask her because she can tell you. In 1999, a car accident changed her life, but for her, it was a positive change in life. This catapulted her into becoming a big-time investor. By the age of 40, Chandra had purchased 13 homes, of which she still owns 8 homes. She is now running her own real estate firm called Sapphire Realty and supervises 16 agents, 2 of which are her twin daughters. Chandra is motivated to assist others in becoming homeowners and building generational wealth, which is a legacy her mother left and instilled in her. That is her her resume, her bio, and so nothing more for myself. I will uh, like to introduce you to our special guest, Chandra Ware. I didn't mention she's also the president of Women's Council. I didn't see that in there, but she'll tell you more about that, about who and what that is when they rap. No more for myself. Welcome, Chandra. Thank you for taking the time and sharing your time with us this evening. And if you no more for myself, I'm gonna leave the floor open to you, and you can tell us about who is Chandra and take it away. The floor is yours, man.
Thank you, Maurice. Who is Chandra? Lolly. Chandra
Muted.
Ware.
Are you muted?
I don't think so. Mm-mm. I'm not muted. Can you hear me? I'm not muted. Can you hear me?
Okay, can you hear me?
I can hear you.
Okay, there you go. I'm sorry. It was me. My bad. Okay, there you
Okay.
go.
I am Chandra Ware, aka Lolly. I am the national president of the Women's Council of NARAB. I am the 25th president, actually. As Maurice said, I am a native California, born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, in the heart of everything. Graduated from Thomas Jefferson High School, went on to Trade Technical College, as well as Cal State Dominguez Hills. Upon completing Cal State Dominguez Hills, I entered the Department of Corrections as a correctional officer. From there, I promoted to correctional counselor, then on to a parole agent. While as a parole agent, that's when my career pretty much turned, I say, for positive. It ended my career after 21 years, but I took it as a positive because that gave me the opportunity to now be free to help those inside and out. And hence me entering into the real estate industry, becoming a real estate agent, then a real estate broker, which now I own my own company, and in the process of opening another office in the Dallas area as well as in the Central Texas area. I am also a notary public where we have our own notary public company where we hire contracted notaries. Myself as well as my daughters all have our own notary team. And that's me. I'm just an individual that likes to help people, and especially to build wealth. That's what my mother taught us in coming up. And I can say that when it comes to my mother, that lady was a character because we were born and raised in South Central Los Angeles, thought that we were like everyone else. But we didn't know that until she passed, we were pretty much well off, but she didn't allow us to grow up thinking that we were well off. And,
Wow.
and I appreciate her for that. And I have actually instilled those characters in my daughters as well. And I think that's something that we should all try to teach our kids that, money is not about everything. And it's not that our kids should know what's in that vault back there. They don't need to know until they're actually able to handle it. And that's the same with my twin daughters. I got into real estate. I had an option to take several careers as a rehab once I left the Department of Corrections, but I chose real estate. And reason being because I'm about helping people and about helping people build wealth. And for the African American, that is one thing that we need to do. We need to gain back our land. And the only way that we can do that is through home ownership, and not just home ownership for ourselves, but as an investment, to leave a legacy for our family. And that's what I have set up for my children and my grandchildren. And that's what I have been teaching family and friends. I can say that as a real estate professional and now being here in Houston, I still reach back at home in South Central Los Angeles and reach out to my friends that I grew up with to assist them in home ownership. I'm gonna tell you a story, Maurice. I had one of my friends that just called me recently and said, "Hey, Lolly, I'm getting ready to make a decision about my taxes, but I needed to talk to you first." Like, what do you want to talk to me about? She said, well, I've been taking losses on my taxes for the past several years, but I want to buy a house. I stopped her in the tracks because I'm like,
Sure.
you need to tell your tax person for the next couple of years, you're claiming everything that you can as far as income, and you're writing off as less as possible because you want to position yourself to become a homeowner. I even went on a little bit further and told her, hey, if those kids come over asking mom, I need this, I need that, not right now, not right now for the next 2 years, because she has to position herself to become a homeowner, and you can't do that with everybody else in your pocket. And people
Hmm.
don't care. They want what they want, but you have to put a stop to it. So, that's what I was able to suggest to her. And, she said that she wished she would have bought years ago, but I advised her that was not a good thing because unlike them, they call me, I was the bookworm, which I wasn't. I just didn't deal with the lifestyles of running the streets. So I told her, I said, hey, I said, it's better that you didn't buy back then because you probably wouldn't have it now because, as they say, easy come, easy go.
Hmm.
And they were going through money like crazy. So, if you got caught up, police was going to take it anyway. The government was going to take it anyway. So I told her, this is the time now that you're supposed to be buying because your mind is on home ownership. Your mind is on leaving something for your kids. And I mean, that's what I instill in my folks from home, as well as people all over the country. We just helped a young man who was incarcerated at the age of 19. He was incarcerated for 15 years. He got out, did his parole. He was on parole for 5 years. And I had did a generational wealth building class and he attended. And he said, Chandra, he says, you know what? I want to buy a home. However, I want to wait until I get off parole. I'm like, no problem. I'm like, but may I ask why? He says, yes, because I don't want to be limited as to what county I can live in. I'm like, no problem. So we waited about 6 months and he got off parole. When March came around, I'm like, hey, you off parole yet? He said, yes, ma'am. He said, and I'm ready. I'm like, cool. So we got him going. March, he was off parole. By October, November, I flew out to California on his closing and we put him in his first home. And today, we talked to him yesterday and a couple of days ago. When I say we, myself, as well as the agent that I referred him to work with. And he is happy as a lark. We had some stressful times where, because he came out being a concrete mason, and he had some times where he thought he wasn't going to have a job. And I had to have a heart-to-heart talk with him. I'm like, you know what? You got to believe in yourself. You've been out for 5 years. You've been doing this work, and you know that you have your ups and downs. When the weather changes come October, November, December, your work is shy or short, but you still have work. I said, so why don't you believe in yourself and do for yourself? And he says, you know what, Miss Chandra, you're right. So we went on, closed this house. Now the boy has, I'm not calling him a boy, the young man has his own house. He's rehabbed his house, bought him a brand new truck, got money in his pocket, and he's off parole. So
Wow.
what more can he ask for? And that's what I want to do with or do for my African American families. And it's not just African Americans, it's all of those who think that they can't buy. They can, but they got to put their mind to it, and they have to just take the time and invest in themselves to do it. So, pardon me.
No, I said absolutely. I'm agreeing with you 1,000%.
And I'm a multi property owner and land owner, and that's what I want to share with everyone else. They can do that. It's called sacrifice. It's called priorities.
Hmm.
Um, Sometimes you don't need to walk around with the gator shoes on and the red bottom shoes and the Coach purses that you don't have $700 in the purse that you paid for the purse. You know, Invest in yourself, not somebody else. Gucci, Coach, Louis Vuitton, their pockets are fat. but they're fat because you putting the money in them. So when are you gonna?
Mhm.
When are we gonna start teaching each other to invest in themselves and invest in their families? You know, I have a saying. I like Tahari suits, but this girl here, I'm not spending $310 on a Tahari suit. Because you know, as soon as that Tahari suit comes out in January, come March, April, that $310 suit is now $99. That's when Chandra will purchase the suit. Because it's gonna look good, the same, it's gonna look on me the same way 3 or 4 months later that it would have earlier. But I've paid 200 and some dollars less. And
Mhm.
that's the way we have to, we have to look at things like that. Um,
And that needs to be taught.
yes,
That needs to be taught.
it needs to be taught. And I
Mhm.
mean, it's funny that you said that, Maurice, because I was talking to my daughter today, and I'm going to do a survey on it. Um, we were talking about the military personnel, and I love my military, but what I would ask of the military for our young men and women that are going into the military and coming out, that they educate them on life skills, because they have the benefits of purchasing a home just like they have the benefits of going to school because of them serving in the military. But they don't know the actual makeup of their rights to become a homeowner. And
Absolutely.
they don't know, even how to set themselves up before they get out of the military so that they can utilize their benefits when they get out. So, I mean, I'm not gonna say I'm all over the board, but when it comes to our veterans and when it comes to our ex-offenders, those are my niches. Those are the people that I really want to reach out to and help. And that's what I've pretty much been doing. I have a friend that we grew up together in California and he did over 35 years in prison, and
Wow.
he's now out. So we've been reaching back and forth at home. I'll call him and say, "Hey, you haven't made any new credit, right?" "No, ma'am." "Okay,
Mhm.
you saving your money, right?" He's like, "Yeah, Lolly." And when I say Lolly, because Lolly was my nickname at
Mhm.
home. So if
Mhm.
somebody says Lolly, I'm like, "Oh, that's somebody from home." If somebody says Chandra, that's somebody in my adult life. But um, but we just have to get out there, and as they say, we have to each one teach one. At this point in
Facts.
time, each one teach five, because
Right.
we got to catch up. We
Yeah,
have
we
to
got
play
to
catch
catch
up.
up. Yeah, we
Yes,
behind. We behind.
we are behind the 8 ball 4, 5, and 6, 7, 8, 9, 10 times. So we
Absolutely.
have to play catch up. So
Absolutely.
it's just, and we have to teach our young kids. I can say with my grandsons are 7 and 8, and the 8-year old, he's been around us long enough that he knows real estate. He knows how to sell a home. He knows how to market a home. He even knows, he came in here yesterday, a couple of days ago, Grammy. I know how to increase my money. And I'm like, "What are you talking about, TJ?" He says, "Well, if I go and do a YouTube live, and then I have all of these people to like my YouTube, and then those stars at the bottom, if they click on those, they can pay me."
Wow. 8
I'm
years
like, "Now
old?
this is an 8 year old.
Wow.
This is an
That,
8 year
yeah,
old."
that's big.
And he's like, I'm like, "Okay, cool, TJ." So what I've started doing now with them, and even though they live right across the street, I've taught them at an early age to value money. They want money, go put out Grammy's trash. They want money, go bring Grammy's trash cans in. I mean,
Right.
even yesterday when I was in the house and they came in and they're like, "Grammy, we're pulling your weeds." "What do you mean you're pulling my weeds?" "Well, we're pulling the dead stuff that's in the yard." I'm like, "Okay, cool." So now they're positioning themselves to get paid.
Yeah. You
I
know.
mean, when it comes to homes, they know, "Grammy, this is our home, huh?" "Yes, it is." "TJ, when Grammy's not here any longer, this goes to you guys." And my
Hmm.
daughters already know. And this is another thing that we as an African American family, or as African Americans, when a family member passes away, we're so quick to sell. We have to slow down, because at
Fact.
the end of the day, if that person didn't pass away, you wouldn't have had the money anyway.
Right.
So why all of a sudden when that person passes away, you need it right there? Not knowing that, you know what, if you held on to it for a couple of years, whatever money you made off of it, you could have gained more by just renting it out, taking the tax write-off, reinvesting in it.
Absolutely.
But we have to slow down and quit being so quick to sell. I'm gonna give you a hypothetical. I'm not gonna say a hypothetical. This is true. My mother passed, and now take it. My mother was a GI Jane of all trades, and when I say that, she did everything from the roofing to the plumbing to the drywall and what have you. Now, certain things, because she wasn't crafted at it, certain things was kind of shaky. So on one of the houses that she left us, we sold it. And then the house down the street, I told my sisters and brothers, because of something that they did, I said, hey, I'm going to buy you out of it. Because they wanted to hard money it up, get their inheritance now at a 50% interest rate. That's not happening. So I just told them.
How that ended up would end up.
Huh?
We know how that would have ended up.
We would have lost it.
Right. Yeah.
So I told them, I said, hey, I'm going to buy you guys out of this property. It's what it's valued for now based on the market. Okay. Bought it. Bam. I bought them out at $40,000 a piece. I held on to that property for 2 years. I sold that property 2 years later for $400,000.
Wow.
So we have to learn the value of our real estate.
And, we don't know that. That's stuff that we need to be educated on, and that's the importance of where we come from and why we, when we know, to be able to make that a reality to them, to individuals. So
go ahead.
What is your secret sauce? What makes Chandra, what works? What's your secret sauce?
Just perseverance and the fact that I don't want to live mediocre. Yeah. I don't want to be mediocre. Nice. I want to be able to travel. So in order to travel, I have to work. And one thing, I don't work hard because I invest. So, we just have to learn how to invest our money wisely.
So talk about that right there a little bit. You said you don't work hard. That's powerful because you invest. And then what is the importance of insurance, of us understanding the power of insurance so that when one of our loved ones die, we don't have to race to sell a home?
You know what? And that's a good thing, because I was speaking to a young lady who was not a real estate agent. She was an insurance agent. Now, I've come from the era that we know both term life and whole life insurance. And our parents were pretty much brought up on term life policies, which at the end of the day, they lived for a long time. But when it was time to bury them, there was no money because the term life policy had either expired or still wasn't a lot of money in that term life. And I remember insurance agents coming to our houses.
Oh yeah,
week, once a week. Once a month, picking up that insurance premium check.
Yeah, I remember
only to find out from neighbors down the street that when somebody passed, there was no money. It wasn't enough money.
Wow. Not knowing. Again,
not knowing. Now, one thing that I did learn from my cousin about insurance, because he is an insurance broker. He's like, baby girl, he says, make sure you have your whole life policy over here and make sure you have a couple of term life policies. He says, you use your term life policies for things like, say if something happens to you, they can pay the car off with this term life policy, and maybe bury you with this term life policy, but with this whole life policy, wow, it's all gravy.
That's a whole show. That's a whole education right there, because it's broken down. Yeah.
And see, I had one lady that, and I'm like this, we need to be given choices, not being told what to do. We need to be given choices and let us decide what we want to do. Right. She came to my office and she wanted to sell me some insurance. I'm like, well, I have a whole life policy. She said, well, I've been doing this for a while, and term life is good for our community. Says who? I said, I've had my whole life policy for years. So why would I go and cancel my whole life policy to go to your term life policy? And at that time, I may have been 50 years old. In 70 years or in 20 years, when that term life policy expires, who's going to give me insurance at 70 years old that I can afford? So, and I told her, I said, hey, when you talk about what's good for our community, no, you don't. Because if you know what's good for our community, you give me the choice to decide if I want a whole life policy or if I want a term life policy.
That's right.
Not to tell me that a term life policy is good for me, because it's not.
Right.
I mean, it's so, and I'm not just going to put it on them, because us as individuals, us as responsible adults, we have to do our homework.
Absolutely.
We can't always be, and I'm not going to say that we were brainwashed, but when it comes to us growing up who were Baptists, we would always listen to what the pastor said or what the preacher said, but we would never research it ourselves.
Wow.
Nowadays, we have to research. No matter, I don't care if I told you.
Right.
I would recommend that you go and research what I told you, so that you can have a better feeling of what I said and a better belief that I told you something that's correct.
Correct. Absolutely.
Because somebody can tell me something all day long. I'm like, okay.
Yeah.
And I'm Googling it.
Right.
Yeah, that's what they said. Okay, now I can believe it. Now I can move forward.
Right.
So, but I mean, and then even back to the real estate, I had a client, rest his soul. He was an older Jewish man. And there's an area out here called Fifth Ward in Houston.
Mm-hmm.
And Mr. P, he owned a scrap metal company within the community. However, Mr. P lived in the community as well, he and his wife. And he asked me one day, he's like, Chandra, he said, do you think it is wrong that I'm trying to buy up all these properties from the people? I said, no, sir. I said, for one, Mr. P, you have to understand that I'm a businesswoman.
Mm-hmm.
Two, if they don't know the value of something that they're sitting on, why not allow you to purchase it, who lives in the community, rather than some outsider purchase it that's going to put them out, that's going to build and price them out, when you have you here that's residing here? You're not trying to put them out. You're trying to turn it into a rental property, or you're trying to fix it up and bring it up. So we have to also look at the value of what we have, because I mean, I'm working with one of my friends in my old neighborhood, and we had one gentleman that said that he wanted to buy the house. Now the house does need some work, but if I say LA, you'll know what the values are. This is, if it was fixed up, it would be anywhere from $600,000 to $800,000. In the condition that it's in, it can go about $485,000.
Wow.
But then you have someone that comes in and wants to offer you $120,000 for it. You have to know your worth.
Right.
You have to know what you're sitting on. Now, I'm the type of person that, hey, yes, I could have got on the bandwagon with him and say, hey, sell it, and I made my money back there with him. I'm not going to do my people like that.
Right.
I know that there was another $300,000 sitting on the table that she could have made.
That's right. You know, they said honesty is telling the truth, integrity is living the truth, and that's the integral thing to do right there. Yep.
Yeah. So it's. I mean, one thing that I can say to anybody, real estate.
Yeah.
Whether the market is up or down, somebody's going to have a place to stay.
Absolutely.
So real estate.
And there ain't no more land, and they're not making any more of it.
They're not making no more land. And even before I left California, they were cutting into the mountains.
Wow.
Because there was no flat land. So now you're cutting into the mountains to build homes.
Wow.
So what does that tell you? Real estate is the place to be.
Right. So two things you mentioned. One of the things you mentioned that I like to key in on, and I'm not sure if the audience and those that will view this later caught it. You mentioned that you can have a record and you can buy a house, buy real estate. You mentioned told the story about someone that you mentored into buying a home after having a record, and they waited until they got off parole to buy their first property.
Yes.
Very valuable information. I don't know if I bought my first property 2 years after finishing up coming home,
Hmm.
from being away. So you definitely can buy homes after being incarcerated. So that was one takeaway I wanted to add that you mentioned. And you mentioned about the VA. You mentioned the
Hmm.
importance of the ability for those that have veterans. Can you talk to a little bit about that? Those that are in the Army and what they have, that value that they can walk into a property literally with almost 100% finance.
100%. And even I'm gonna speak on that 100% too. Um, Veterans have, if you're discharged with a honorable discharge, you have the opportunity to purchase a home under your VA benefit. Now, the one thing that I've noticed that is not explained to them is that they can go to the VA, get their qualifications for the home purchase, and they'll come back and say, Miss Chandra, I qualify for $500,000. Okay, I'm ready to go look. No, you're not. Because for one, that's your $500,000 qualification that the VA will cover up to if you were to default on your loan. However, the lender is only going to give you a loan based on what your income tells you can afford. So you can have a $500,000 VA benefit, but if your income only dictates 200,000, you're only going to be able to purchase a $200,000 loan. I mean, home. Now, with the VA benefits, the other caveat to that is that you don't have to come to the table with any money. Now, I had a debate here with one of my colleagues because I'm an advocate for get all you can while you can. And even if
Absolutely.
you're a VA vet, still get all you can while you can.
That's right.
And with the VA benefits or the opportunity to purchase a home with the VA, yes, you do. You do have the opportunity to go in with zero down. But if here, like with here in Houston, they have City of Houston, Harris County down payment assistance. And I had a veteran, my client was 75 years old, first time home buyer. I found him a home for $115,000. That was about 7 years ago. I'm still in contact with him today. That was about 7 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
$115,000. Yes, he could have gone into that home with zero down, but I went a little step further because the city of Houston had a down payment assistance program that he qualified for, still with his VA benefit. So I was able to get him $45,000.
Were there income limits on that down payment assistance program?
It was income limits, but he met them.
Okay, got you.
He met the income limits.
Nice.
So we were able to get him $45,000 payment assistance. So even though he didn't have even though he had his VA loan criteria met, what that $45,000 did was help reduce the principal of that 115. He
Wow.
walked away with his note being, I think Mr. Washington, his note ends up being about $400 or $500 a month,
Wow.
taxes included.
See, and that's the benefit of having, and that's one of the benefits of having people that work for you and not
Hmm.
looking at you as another paycheck or another
Yeah.
commission check. Because I
And,
know.
and,
Mhm.
and you do, you're right, Maurice, because you do have some agents out there that are just about the commission.
Yeah, have
And
commission.
you have some agents out there that are about how fast the deal is going to close. And yes, getting the down payment assistance, the deal may take a little bit longer because now you're dealing with a third party or fourth party in getting your loan approved.
Was
But
that a grant or was it a loan? Down payment
no,
assistance.
it's a grant. He
Nice,
doesn't have to pay it back.
nice.
He had to stay in the house for 10 years because actually he reached out to me because he wanted to refinance. And I'm like, I don't think you can refinance because we needed to check on the term because
Yeah,
they had some that were 5 years
some 10.
and they had some that were 10.
Yeah.
So we needed to check on the term to make sure that he had a 10-year or a 5-year. And if he has a 5-year, then he can go and refinance and doesn't have to pay anything back. But if he has a 10, then he's going to probably have to wait and refinance later.
So, Chandra, why do you do what you do? Why is it that you do? Do you do what you do? Is it
Because that lady upstairs wouldn't have it any other way. She's my mom. My mom is, you have to teach people. You have to share what I shared with you. And that's, you know what, I would say, as you say, a calling. That's my calling.
That was my next question. That was my next question.
That's my calling. And I have to give a disclaimer. People say, well, she's not smiling. I'm smiling right here. I sometimes I say this is South Central LA, working prison system, and actually it's just passion. It's really passion. And I do it because I want to see people move up. I want to see people, get that wealth. I have my wealth. And even when it comes to my rental properties, I don't have a problem asking a person, hey, why are you renting my house? Why don't you try to buy?
Yeah. And let me help you do it. And let me help you do it. And
and I know what their response is going to be. Well, my credit is bad, Okay, let's check your credit out. Let's check it. Well, I don't have the money. Who says you need money? You got a couple $1,000s in the bank? Yes, ma'am. Let me take you to a lender to see if you qualify for a home. Some I had to turn around and rent to. Some were able to take, set that rental aside and position themselves to purchase a home. But I do it because, I've always been that one to help people. I'm not a selfish person. And again, I like to see people get ahead. And if I can help them get ahead, that's all that matters to me.
So what do you see? You said you see this as your calling. You said you told us why you do what you do. What would you want your legacy to be?
My legacy, that Chandra was a generational wealth builder, that she helped people build their generational wealth, that I left my kids and my grandkids well off. My legacy was that when someone thinks about being in their home, they think about, you know what, had I not talked to Chandra, I wouldn't be here. That's my legacy. I just want to make sure that people are informed.
Serving. That sounds like service to me.
Yes.
Yep. Sounds like serving. That's a good thing. That's good. That's good stuff. Man, time flies for sure. So I just want to pull some of the nuggets that was taken away from here.
Okay.
One part you mentioned about notary. I don't know if you know it, but you inspired me to step my notary game up. You mentioned that conversation we talked after I got off the phone with you. I set myself up with a couple companies. I'm waiting for their response now. So thank you for that. So that's the benefit of networking and relationships. You're affecting things all across the country. I don't know. That's 1,000 miles away, probably. I don't know.
So I have somebody in Memphis setting it up too. Yeah. Because I'm building a national team. So I have someone in Memphis that's setting theirs up. That'll be working under me. I have someone in California that's setting it up, and then I'm working with somebody in Atlanta.
Wow. So, for those that are listening, one of the things that we like to do is share, especially during COVID. It was, one of the questions you were asking is, hey, we want to leave you with something. If you can get a notary license, that's an income stream for you, to become a notary and to be a notary and a closing agent. So that's what we're talking about, is adding an income stream to what you're already doing.
And I'm going to tell you, when COVID hit and those interest rates fell, my daughters are also notaries. I have twin daughters. That's them back there. They're also notaries. When they turned 18 and they were able to get their notary commission, they did. And I can tell you, when COVID hit and those interest rates fell, my daughters were running crazy. They were doing anywhere from 10 to 12 notaries a day.
So are your Ron approved there? Electronic notaries where you are?
Yes, we're both. I have twin daughters. I'm a remote notary, and one of the twins is a remote notary.
Okay. So do you
And
have
we
the ability to record as well?
Mm-hmm.
Nice. Yeah.
Yep.
So another takeaway, we just mentioned it about you being incarcerated, you being able to still purchase a home.
Mm-hmm.
We talked about the VA, your DD 214. If you're
Mm-hmm.
honorably discharged, you can technically walk into a home. Not only can you walk into it 100%, according to the last examples, you can walk into it and pay down your principal using a
Yes.
down payment assistance program. That's big.
Yes.
That's never been part of any of the conversations we've had. That's an
Yes.
excellent nugget. And the other thing that you mentioned was those. Chandra mentioned that she's able to do deals in multiple states. She talked about a closing that she was able to fly into the closing to help from helping someone from another state because she's duly licensed in another state. And those for right now. Oh, and the benefits of insurance, so that you don't have to rush to sell the home once something happened to your loved ones or your parents. So look into, getting insurance policies that can sustain you, and the difference between term and whole. So those are some homework tips and some things you should looking into and researching in your own time and benefiting. I mean, I've learned something. I hope there's something there for the audience that also maybe have learned. Chandra, do you have any closing remarks or anything you'd like to leave with the audience?
Yes, because even during COVID, what I've been doing now, I am in an investment club, and I've started purchasing stock. So with the way this economy is going right now, look into the stock market.
Crypto?
I haven't really touched in. I haven't really dabbled into cryptocurrency. My daughters have. They said, I don't ask them about their finances, but they said that they're doing okay with it. I was very fortunate to purchase Tesla. I purchased Tesla at $237 a share. Tesla went up to $2,400 a share. All I can say is that I invested $900, and that $900 turned into $20,000.
Wow. That's a whole nother lesson, another class you just dropped. That's a whole stock.
Yeah.
So I gotta ask though, for those that may have the question and may who see this later, are there any suggestions or any stock tips that you can recommend? Do you think Robinhood is a good way for a new stock person to get involved? What's your recommendation?
I signed up for Robinhood, but I didn't. Robinhood to me is not user friendly.
Okay.
I have a couple of accounts. I have an E-Trade account and I have a Ameritrade account. I like my E-Trade account because I can look at it live on my phone. A live ticker, and I see everything that I have down there at the touch of my hand. If I want to buy, sell, I can do that. But I just wasn't fond of Robinhood.
Okay. Any stock tips? Any tickers you want to drop?
I would say stock tips. With the way we're going right now in this COVID, anything that has to do with electric vehicles, automation, be it the batteries for the vehicles, hate to say,
COVID
test, marijuana.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, because
marijuana, definitely.
Yeah, because you know what, and I've been talking to my friends here. I said, you know what the prerequisite is once they start making this marijuana legal all across the country? The prerequisite is going to probably be these CBD shops, these vapor shops. And if a person has these vapor shops, they're already set up because they're already selling the CBD oils.
Wow. We got to have you back. Definitely got to have you back. The time went too fast. I looked up. We was 20 minutes in, and it was too good to stop you. You was rolling with good information. Looking forward to sharing more information and having you back when you get some time. We definitely are grateful. that you took your time out to share some information. I know that there's some benefit from it. Look forward to just having you back. And I want to thank you. You have anything else you want to share? Or if you want to share how people can get a hold of you if they want your services, if they're looking for, if they're in the Houston area or California, how can they reach you?
You can reach me at 832-428-9790. 832-428-9790. I'm Chandra Ware. My email address is homesbychandra@gmail.com. 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 And I'm also, as I know Maurice said, I'm also the national president of the Women's Council, which is the community service arm of NARAB, which is the National Association of Real Estate Brokers. Both he and I are members of. And we focus on financial literacy and down payment assistance, financial literacy and home buyer education classes to empower the community.
You want to share about your scholarship? Because y'all have a scholarship.
We do have a scholarship, and I'll be going out as the president in July. But before I go out, we're going to be giving out scholarships. And the scholarship committee is working on that application now. And we also have down payment assistance monies before I leave. It's up to $1,500. So, but it has to, a member of the Women's Council has to recommend you for that. So if you have any questions, you can go to our website, www.womenscouncilofnarab.org, www.womenscouncilofnarab.org. And you can read up on Women's Council. And if you want to join, you're welcome to join as well.
It takes a few good men also.
And it takes a few good men. Maurice is one of our few good men as well.
So it's WOMANS or ENS? Council for the
ENS.
website. Okay, ENS.
ENS.
ENS. And that's council.org, right?
Mm-hmm. Women's Council of NARAB.org.
Women's Council of NARAB, okay.
Mm-hmm. We also have a Facebook page, WC NARAB.
Okay.
Now, can I say something, Maurice?
Absolutely.
For those who may be with this pandemic going on and people were applied for forbearances, on Thursday, we're having a platform about the updates on the forbearance. Because
where can they go to get that? So I can type that in the chat so they can.
They can go, we're on Eventbrite with it, but they can also go to our Women's Council of NARAB Facebook page, WC NARAB, and it's on our Facebook page. Or they can go to my Facebook page, Chandra Ware. And they'll see the flyers.
And Chandra Ware. Okay, that's good information. Okay, so what is it? It helps with
It's the forbearance update.
Okay, forbearance.
Because what's going to happen was a lot of people that got this forbearance, if they don't have, once they come out of the forbearance, those payments are due. So if they gave them a 90-day forbearance, come that fourth month, your payment is due. And if you had to get an extension, however long they gave you, all those payments are still due. So your options will be a modification. But the caveat to that is if you don't have a job, how can you pay for the new modification that they're going to give you?
True.
Hence, that's when people will start losing their homes. And I know I had a colleague that one of her girlfriends called and said that she was going to get a modification. And she told her, no, you can afford to make your payment. So make your payment. She didn't listen. She went on ahead and got the modification. And then guess what happened 2 months later? She lost her job. Now she really needs the modification. So that means now she's going to have to ask for an extension. So now that 90-day modification that she had now may turn to 6 or 7 months because she doesn't have a job.
Wow.
And if she still doesn't have a job when the modification ends, How is she going to make those mortgage payments? How is she going to get caught up for 7 months of mortgage payments that were not paid?
So on that point too, which brings me to NID, which is another affiliate of NARAB. It's the housing counseling industry of
Yes.
NARAB. So if anyone out there that may be facing something like that, reach out to NID if you're running into those struggles. We currently are branch managers for New Jersey and Pennsylvania, NID housing counselors. And we assist those who have those challenges because, to your point, Chandra, really depending on what banks have it, and it's not even the banks. A lot of the banks are separating themselves from it because they'll farm that debt out to a
Investor.
a servicing company, and these servicing companies are very aggressive, and your property has equity in it. And sometimes they're not very user friendly to the point of really wanting to assist you. So seek a professional if you are struggling. Some of you all I'm sure that are listening, you may be going through some things and you just can't, you're bumping your head with dealing with them. Reach out to a HUD-approved housing counseling agency, an NID agent, and
Yeah.
And then you can get some assistance.
And and I'm going to say this too, because they have to understand that the people because I used to be a NID counselor. And when I worked it back in 2006, 7, and 8, in 2009, they have to understand who's on that other end of the phone.
That's right.
And most of the time, it's not someone who owns a home. So they don't know what you're talking about. Right. Sometimes it's somebody who just came out of a job out of Jack in the Box or McDonald's. I mean, it was one. I had one call. Well, I made one call for a client, and I was talking to this young lady on the phone, and her voice seemed familiar because when you're calling these call centers, you're calling all over the place. You don't know who you're talking to. And she kept talking, and I'm like, "Excuse me." I said, "What is your name?" She said, "Alicia." I'm like, "Alicia, what call center are you in?" She says, "California." I said, "Could you keep talking a little bit?" She said, "Yes, ma'am." She says, "Well, this, da, 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 da." I said, "Alicia, is your name Alicia, da, 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 da?" She said, "Yes, ma'am." You know how old this young lady was? 19 years old.
Wow.
She was my daughter's friend. She was actually one of my old tenants.
Wow.
So and I did a segment when COVID first started about this. You're gonna have to be patient. Your documents are gonna get lost. So be prepared to resend them and resend them and resend them. That's if you don't want to lose your home. I would say take the time, be patient, because don't walk away because you're frustrated. And
Right.
You've had some people that will walk away from the home because they're frustrated of paperwork, documentation getting lost.
And that's where you can get with a housing counseling agency because they can help with that paperwork and minimize those multiple times that that paperwork getting lost, and they'll put that paperwork in for you, and then the bank will contact you. And to Chandra's point about who you're speaking to on the other line, be mindful that, and I know you may be under stress and you call the phone, you're calling a call center, and someone that is just got out of a training that morning, and their job is to collect, get a payment. You want to speak to the loss mitigation department because that's someone that can make a decision. The person that you're speaking to in the call center are not authorized to make any decisions. Their script is collect the payment. They don't have a payment, drive, collect the payment, collect payment. It may be more than that, but the point is that sometimes your frustration is because you're thinking that the person you're talking to has the ability to do things that they just don't have the power to do. And they're not going to
escalate. You want them to escalate that call.
Yep. To someone that can make a decision and help you. But more importantly, get it. And housing counseling agencies are free. Just get past the not wanting someone in your business and knowing what it is you're doing, to save your house is worth it. it's confidential. No one's, we're not allowed to tell your business, but get with someone that can help you with it.
And Maurice, and because you said that counselor, we are confidential.
Yep.
Because rest assured, if you don't get it done, if you don't call a counselor, that public sale is not confidential.
That's true.
Your business is going to be all on the newspaper. People are going to call your home asking you. They're going to call your home asking you to sell because they've posted you.
Yep.
They've posted that there's a pending foreclosure, and you're going to get all these crazy calls all times of the night. People knocking on your door, letters coming in the mail, because that becomes public information.
Absolutely. That's true. And that becomes public information. So it's going to be made known anyway. So it's to your benefit to reach out to someone before it becomes public knowledge. Yeah.
Yes.
Wow. Yeah, we could keep going with this information. But we're going to end it, and I would love to get you another time, Chandra. I'll be reaching out to you. We'll probably, I think we got an affiliates meeting coming up sometime next month. We'll be doing some stuff in NARAB and serving some people, which we both enjoy doing. So no more for myself. You got any last words, parting words you want to share? And then we'll sign off.
I would just say, don't be so quick to sell. Invest, invest, invest. Home ownership is the key to our success.
Facts. Absolutely. Thank you, Ms. Chandra. It was a pleasure and really appreciate it. Was we had some technical difficulties earlier, but it was definitely worth it to come back at it. Appreciate you. God bless you and stay safe. And we'll be talking soon.
Thank you.
Yep.
Bye-bye.
Bye-bye. Yes, viewers, thank you for those who tuned in. That was a great session, information filled with Ms. Chandra Ware. We will look forward to talking to you in our next session. Peace and God bless.